So today we're getting our first drive review of the new Skoda Fabia. This is the company's new small car and it is packing a big punch. It goes up against a lot of very established rivals, including cars like the Toyota Yaris and its near stable mate, the Volkswagen Polo. We're not going to labour too much on the exterior design because we've already gone into a lot of detail in our other review, so do check that out on the channel. But what I can tell you is this is effectively the range topping model. So what do you get with this? Well, you get these very fancy LED headlights. All the cars now are going to have LEDs because that's just a way of saving energy and improving efficiency. But there's a lot of smart aerodynamics. For example, the air now can be channeled in through the front bumper, out through the wheels and along the side of the car. It makes the car cleaner, means it uses slightly less fuel, which is good news for you. The wheels are even aerodynamically optimized with these 17-inch wheels that have these plastic inserts. They look cool, they look snazzy, but they do also improve the car's aerodynamics. Now, one of the features of this being a range shopping model is you can option contrasting different color roof and also on the door mirrors. You can also choose between 16 and 17-inch wheels. The dark colors look great, but you can get more traditional silver colors too. Now, around the back, there's a little bit more aerodynamic trickery at work. These finlets around the side, they fill in the back, but they do also, again, improve the car's aerodynamics. As for the back of the car, well, like all of Skoda's other models, you get the name spelled proudly across the back, and you get these really crisp, sharp-looking LED tail lights. They look really distinctive, and it's very easy to spot that this is a Skoda from behind. Now, one thing Skodas are always very well known for is boot space, and the Fabia is no different. This has a huge boot, 380 litres. For context, that's the same amount of boot space that you get in a Volkswagen Golf, which is one size segment above this car. So it's really good if you're looking for a compact car, but you do need to fit a lot of stuff into it. Big thumbs up for that. Now, when it comes to driving, there's a lot of adjustability here. Skoda has been very clever about how much it offers. There's loads of space. You can go all the way back. For reference, I'm 5'9". I find it very easy to find a comfortable driving position in this car. And the steering wheel also has quite a lot of adjustability for reach and rake. So that's quite good. I don't think anybody is going to have any issue in finding a comfortable driving position in this car. There's one other thing that I really like is that there's actually quite a lot of knee room in here. So in some smaller cars like this, it's very easy to knock your inside knee off against the center console here, but it doesn't happen with this. It's a very smart design. If I move my seat back, you can actually see how this area is actually all open here. Just gives you a little bit more room. It's one of those small things you'll not really notice when you're in a showroom, but when you live with a car, it's one of those things that you start to really appreciate with it. Now, this is one of the range shopping cars, so this does have a lot of spec inside, but it shows how much you can get with a compact car. All of the cars now get this 2-spoke steering wheel. You get a choice of different touchscreen displays up to 9 inches, and you've got physical controls for the climate controls. That's a really useful thing. Manual handbrake, lots of space here, more space under there, a little bit more room in there, and a wireless charging pad. So if you need to charge your phone on the go, you just pop it in there and it's at an angle, it's not going to slide around. That's a really useful feature. There's also 2 USB-C ports and a 12-volt socket in the back. Even though Skoda's put a huge boot in the back, there's actually a lot of space in the rear seats too. I'm sitting behind myself in my driving position. As I said, I'm 5'9", and you can see how much knee room I have here. Really, really generous. There's seat pockets on the back of the seats and an extra pocket that you can just slip your smartphone into while it's charging. When it's charging, well, you've got 2 USB-C ports back here too, and you've got 2 sets of vents here as well. As for sitting in the back, well, headroom is pretty good too. I have no complaints in that respect, and this car is equipped with the panoramic glass roof. Looks great. It's perfect when you're sitting in the back because it just floods in light. Really great, especially if you've got kids. They're going to love looking out and watching the world go by. The middle seat does have a little bit less room, but that's pretty much normal. It's what we used to see in cars like this because there's a bit of a floor here, transmission tunnel. But if you don't need to use the rear seat, you can pop this down and you've got 2 cup holders. That's pretty good. We mentioned some of those big car features in the new Fabia, and it does feel like a big car too. might only be a small increase in overall width, but the way the new cabin has been designed in here, it feels a lot more spacious, and there's good visibility throughout the cabin as well. These A-pillars don't get in the way when you're pulling out of a junction. There's decent side mirrors, and even the rear view through that wide back window gives you a really good view of what's going on behind you, far better than what we typically see in crossovers and SUVs. So that's another good point, another plus in the Fabia's copybook. There's a good range of engines available too. There's a 1 litre MPI unit that comes in 2 different power outputs depending on which market you're in. The latter of those is the only one to really consider in my opinion. I drove it earlier today and it is actually quite a decent engine, especially if you're only going to be doing short, low speed urban driving. So in a town or city, it does get a little bit out of breath when you're trying to get up to motorway speeds like 120 kilometers per hour. It does struggle at that, and it only has a 5-speed manual gearbox too. So that's the other thing to consider. It's not going to be particularly economical if you're doing long runs, but it is actually not that bad. It can be reasonably frugal when you're just driving around town. Now, the 1.5 litre with 150 horsepower is going to come later on, but even before I drive it, I don't think you're going to really need to have that engine, because this 110 horsepower 1 litre engine is a peach. It's a TSI engine. We've seen it in other Volkswagen Group cars, and it's a lovely engine, especially when you pair it with this DSG automatic transmission. It works very, very well. The stop start in heavy traffic is a little bit laggy, that's the only thing, but for the most part it's very, very smooth. It's a good willing engine and it's quite enjoyable to drive with. And when it comes to driving, that is where Skoda Fabia owners are probably going to notice the biggest difference. The car now feels much more grown up, like a bigger car. It feels a lot more solid on the road. It deals with bumps a lot better. It's noticeably more quiet. A part of that is to do with this 1 litre TSI engine, but it suppresses all the road noise. It cancels out some of the wind noise very, very well. Even at motorway cruising speeds, it feels much more like a larger car than it actually is. I think that's the one thing that will surprise older Fabia owners. And overall, it feels like a much improved car, larger, more solid. I think this is a car that's going to do very well in this segment. That's our first drive review of the new Skoda Fabia. It's a really good bit of kit, and you don't have to necessarily be going for the top spec version either. All of the models come really well equipped, and there's a good choice of engines. They range from 1 litre up to 1.5, from 65 to 150 horsepower. So there's going to be something there for everybody. You don't necessarily have to go for the smallest engine. Also, you don't have to necessarily go for the biggest 150 horsepower engine either. So do have a look around. Check out our website, which is CompleteCar.ie. You'll find a more detailed review of this car on there. And you'll also find reviews of all of its rivals, and there are a lot of rivals. As I mentioned, cars like the Skoda Fabia, the Volkswagen Polo, the Toyota Yaris. There's a lot of competition in this segment, but Skoda has really upped its game here, and some of its rivals should be quite worried with this car.